This is Jocko Podcast number 243 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
It's a different world when you get home. I mean, at some point while you're over there, you accept death. You give away normal life. You give away the normal world. It's probably just a coping mechanism of some kind. To just accept your fate. To accept your fate that the world is war. That the world is dirt and blood and pain and death. And you have to accept that. At least I did. And I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't want that acceptance, that I didn't want that attitude. Because the world, the normal world, the everyday world is a complicated place. There's all kinds of things going on. Family and friends and mortgage payments and bills to pay and a future to worry about and retirement and savings and the kids. And the list goes on. But in war, that's all gone. There really isn't even a future. Nothing else matters. Nothing but the mission and the men. That was my concern. Did I think about my family? Sometimes. I had other things to think about. I had other things to worry about. Bullets and bombs and blood and shit and life and death. And you go through it. You get through it. Some of you do. Some of you don't. And for those that do make it through, one day, just as quickly as it started, it's over. Get on a plane and you fly home. Back to the world. And on that flight home, I only think about one thing. That I didn't bring home all my men. And then the door of the plane opens. And we're home. And in 24 hours of flight time, you go from Ramadi, Iraq to San Diego, California. At least physically you do. Mentally, it's going to take a little bit more time to come around. But you soon realize that you are alive. And you have a house and a wife and kids and mortgage and a future. You are alive and you are thankful. And you want to live a life that honors your friends that didn't come home. And then it's let's go. Let's get it on. Let's surf and fight and drink and eat and play guitar and run and roll and surf some more. Let's go. Let's do this. We're lucky to even be here. Full on. For me, much of that time, the surfing and the rolling and the eating and the drinking and the jamming on the Git box was spent with Seth Stone, the Delta Platoon commander. He bought a house a mile away from mine. He was like an uncle to my kids, part of the family. And you know, he's a much nicer guy than me, much friendlier than me. Always made friends. And before we left on deployment, he had somehow linked up with a guy by the name of Gene Cooper, a legendary surfboard shaper. And Seth got Gene to make us some boards. Some epic boards. And when we got home, we got those boards and we rode them. And through Gene, Seth also linked up with a guy named Mike Black that made a surf movie. If it can even be called that. It's kind of a crazy surf movie called Invasion from Planet C, the sci-fi surf movie. It was unique. It was kind of wild and funny and insane and just kind of completely crazy, and maybe that's why we liked it, because it had some good surfing in it. It made us laugh. It also had some good music in it. Some real good music. One song in that movie was called Madman. It was by a band called The White Buffalo. And we heard the lyrics to the song. And they made sense to us. There's one section of lyrics that says, like an animal out of his den, you better hide your money, you better hide your children. You can't keep your fear at bay, because the madman's roaming these streets today. The madman's coming. We got that. We understood what that was all about. And the White Buffalo songs were in some other surf movies along the way. One called Shelter. A song called Wrong. Knew some other guys in there. Joel Tudor was in that movie. So Seth figured out where the rest of this music came from, and we started listening to this White Buffalo. Came like a little soundtrack. Because the music and the lyrics and the sound and the attitude was somehow it was about us. About what we had seen, about what we had been through. About what we were going through. And I don't really remember exactly when we went and saw the White Buffalo for the first time. I know that we saw him one time at UCSD in some kind of cafe, and there was probably about 12 people there. Saw him at the Casbah in San Diego, the Belly Up a few times. Eventually we saw him at bigger places, like the House of Blues and the Observatory. And we knew that somehow this guy, he got us. And I remember the first time we saw him at the Casbah. It was the last time we saw him when there was a pretty small crowd. But it was a small enough crowd that everyone that was there knew who he was. There was no people wandering in. They knew who the White Buffalo was, and they were there to see him. And people were drinking, and people were carrying on. And they were talking and laughing. And then the PA music faded. Then the lights went dark. And then he walked out on stage. Alone. And he played. He started strumming that guitar.
Mother, I try to do right by you, to do what you asked me to. I did wrong and I knew. Mother, I try to behave for you. Now I'm digging a grave for you. It was all I could do. Find a way back home, make everything new. But I wish it was true. Father, well, I gave my soul to you. I came in blindfolded for you. It was all that I knew. Well, open your arms and I'll fly out of hell up to you. But I wish it was true. Boy, come on out from the cold. You're lost outside there, don't you know? It's not what you say, it's what you do. Just keep wishing your wishes are true. Your dreams, they're reality. There's no pain, there's no misery. You just polish the blood and the bruise. 'Cause there's just no way you can lose. Well, I wish it was true. country. I was a soldier for you. I did what you asked me to. It was wrong and you knew. Country, now I'm just a stranger to you. A number, name, it's true. Throw me away when you're through. Home of the brave and the free, the red, white, and blue. Well, I wish it was true.
And when he got done playing, the place was silent for a second. Seth and I were standing there like everybody else. Then we looked at each other. We smiled. The place went crazy. We did too. It was a good night. It's a good memory. And memories are all I have left of Seth now. And those songs. And those are some powerful songs. And it's an honor today to have the man behind those memories and behind those songs. The man himself, a man named Jake Smith, otherwise known as the White Buffalo. Jake, thanks for coming down, man.
Thank you for having me.
No pressure on that set right there?
That was intense.
Yeah, man. Tell me about it. Yeah, it's lots of stuff wrapped up in the songs that you write. It's kind of crazy when I think about all the time that I spent sitting there listening, playing them, listening to them, going to your shows, just being some random dude. We almost got into a fight at the Belly Up one time. Some guy was talking, like, just mad dogging Seth. And Seth was like 6'2", and, I mean, I know I look like a serial killer for sure. Seth, not quite as much because he's too nice, but still, he's a strapping dude with a shaved head and cauliflower ears, right? That's generally not a go situation for scraps.
No, that's a sign.
Yeah. So at Belly Up, we're standing there, and this dude's kind of nudging into Seth, and Seth's kind of looking at him, and I'm standing behind the guy, which in the jiu-jitsu world means I can kill you. you have zero chance. But it didn't happen. But lots of memories, man. It's awesome to have you come down here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Let's talk a little bit about you, man. Enough about me. I've been talking about myself here for a long time. Let's hear about you.
All right.
So you were born where? Up in Oregon?
I was born in Eugene, Oregon.
And what was that all about? Were your parents working up there?
My dad was still going to school. He's a college professor, and he was, I think he was still working on his master's at that point. And we moved down to, he might have been working on his PhD, and then we moved down to Southern California, Huntington Beach, when I was maybe 1.
Uh-huh.
And he continued that at Pepperdine and did some student teaching, and then we were there for maybe since I was 1 until 20.
Dang. Malibu.
Yeah, we didn't live there though.
Oh.
But we lived in Huntington Beach, which is all has its
Huntington Beach cool too, but I mean, let's face it, if you lived in Malibu and you surfed Malibu all the time, you probably wouldn't be here right now.
I probably wouldn't.
You'd be a whole different world. So you grew up in Huntington Beach then?
I did.
And what was the situation? Your dad's a college professor at Pepperdine?
No, my dad was a college professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Oh, I see. So
he did his student teaching or finished his PhD there and then moved on to Cal State Dominguez Hills in
What
Carson.
does he teach?
He taught public administration. His
What even is that?
right now it's tough to explain, right? I think it's like the study of city budgets. I think a lot of policemen take it. City planners. It's like in the political science world.
Now, what do you think makes a man say to themselves, they're looking at the courses and they're like, there you go, public administration, that's calling my name.
Yeah, I don't know. And it you know, I mean, he's interested by some odd things like that, but it was surprising, not surprising, but it is. It's one of the lesser known, pedagogies, or it's not a normal. When you say what that is, most people say,
what I said.
Is that?
Yeah,
exactly.
What I said.
You know.
What about your mom? What was she up to?
She was a nurse. She was a labor and delivery nurse.
Oh, dang.
Brother and a sister.
You have a brother and a sister.
Correct.
Older, younger?
I'm the youngest.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby.
Does that whole thing work out? You know, that whole thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where so now you get coddled and everything, and
I mean,
you're the spoiled kid.
It was part of it, I think. Definitely.
And how far from the beach did you live in Huntington Beach?
We used to take the bus to go surf when I was young. 2 miles.
Oh, that's not bad. You could beach cruiser that all day long.
We could, but we busted or got dropped off for the most
bus
part.
was easier than a beach cruiser?
I don't know why we busted, you know? It's a weird, yeah. I think it was all BMX, so it just wasn't an option to have the rack and whatnot. You know?
Did they have them? Or you had to carry it under your arm back then?
I don't even know if they had the racks back then.
Yeah. Now you get all kinds of racks. You're good to go,
right?
BMX or not.
That's true. I think they can.
How much were you surfing?
I surfed quite a bit, but it wasn't something that I picked up super easily. It was the age of the small, thin board where and I've always been a big dude, and to ride, you know, I'm
Kelly
on
Slater's board.
Right. I'm on a 6'3" and I'm 6'2", you know, and it's like some wafer thin thing that I can't, you know, I'm sitting out in the lineup and I'm up to my tits in the water, and it's not going to float me. It took me a while to just go like, oh man, I should probably get a bigger board.
Yeah.
Something that actually I can paddle in the waves.
Yeah,
and
that's a big mental transition to
It
make,
is.
man. My buddy Josh Hall just made me a board that's 11.6, and it is it's the thickest board I think a human could make. Because my son was telling him what I wanted, and they were doing this like as a secret surprise for me, right?
Yeah.
Was that cool? Like a secret surprise behind my back. So my son was telling him, hey, you know, and Josh had some ideas, and my son's like, no, the biggest, thickest board you could possibly make, and Josh Hall delivered. Big time. You got to try that board.
I got some thick boards too. I got a couple. One of mine looks like a paddle board, but it's not a paddle board.
It's a surfboard for a large man,
right?
We'll say. So you and I know you were a freaking hardcore baseball player, right?
I was. That was kind of my dream as a child. Ended up playing college baseball, Division I baseball. Had a scholarship to play baseball.
What position did you play?
Until I was a senior in high school, I played shortstop. So I was on the more athletic side of, especially for a big man. They thought I was going to be like the next like Cal Ripken, like you know, and he was big.
That's a big statement you just made. They thought I was going to be the next Cal Ripken.
I mean, I don't know how many people they were. No, but that was they were grooming me for that idea. But then we actually had this young kid who came in as a shortstop, who was a sophomore or something. He was this little phenom, and then I moved over to third base.
Well, I didn't play. Well, I played baseball. My dad really liked sports a lot. That's why my name is Jocko, by the way. And I didn't like sports as much as him at all. Yeah. I like machine guns, right? So, but I would get put into sports randomly. Oh, go play Little League, and I was on the Braves. Oh, yeah. Echo gets into this kind of thing, but I just wasn't really my thing. So years later, I went and talked to a professional baseball team, and when I was growing up, I remembered the baseball players. It seemed like most of the baseball players that were pros, they were like these little guys, right? Like little Dominican guys, little Puerto Rican guys that were fast and everything. And when I went and met with this team, which was just a few years ago, they were freaking monsters. Now, they were all huge, yeah.
Oh, they're massive now. I mean, it's a whole different.
Is that a new thing?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at footage from the 80s, even early 90s, They were way smaller.
How much practice did you play? I mean, are you one of the, because sports was different. Like nowadays, if you're a kid and you're going to play sports, your parents are like, cool, you're going to do that sport. You're going to play it 365 days a year. You're going to get coaching. You're going to get some private whatever, batting coach that's come and work with you when the kid's like, oh, we need a batting coach. You're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, here's my son. He's 4.
Right.
Was it like that for you?
Not so much. I mean, I did do extra stuff, and I did, did extra work with hitting coaches and fielding coaches, and it was definitely a big part. I mean, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player when I was a kid, and my dad. I come from kind of a wrestling family. My dad was a wrestler.
Oh, dang.
My brother was
Respect.
a wrestler, right? And but he's not a ball sport guy at all, and so he was kind of always blown away by the idea, like, where did this child come from? He used to say that he'd throw a ball at me, like when we were young. My brother's like a year and a half older than me. He could just throw a ball at me when I was like 2, and I would just like reach up and snatch it.
Freaking Conor McGregor reflexes.
Probably hit off my, hit off my brother's chest and land on the floor. But they had, they were hard nosed guys. My dad was a badass.
What? How old were you started playing baseball?
Actually, my dad wouldn't let us play. He thought it was too political when I was young, just with all the bullshit.
Wait a second, I have no idea what you're talking about. How is baseball political in 1985 or something?
Kids, yeah, probably. I mean, I was born in 74, so
yeah.
It was just a lot of tension, kids.
You mean political, like the dad with the kid,
the dad,
mom,
and the kid, and the
this.
emotions of that. He thought like soccer was a better game, a better family sport, that kind of thing. So we played soccer, and then he budged earlier because my brother was older, and we always wanted to play baseball. And then I was like minor B's. I was still quite young when I started playing.
How good was your brother
at baseball?
Yeah,
he was fast.
Damn, bro. Talk about the freaking hammer of destruction. Ouch. I guess the ball was hitting him in the face when the old man threw it to him.
No, he was a wrestler. I mean, it was a different...
Oh, your brother wrestled?
My brother wrestled too, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. He wrestled... my dad wrestled in college. He wrestled at Oregon State under Dale Thomas.
Dang.
And then coached some at Oregon as well as Oregon State. And my brother... He just wrestled in high school, but he was good in high school.
Yeah, wrestling in California high school is no joke.
Yeah, he was good.
It's the largest wrestling tournament in the world.
I think he was CIF champ. I want to say my brother.
Yes,
so
respect.
He was good.
Props to your brother. So, at what point? What was you're dealing with music?
It was late. I mean, it hit me super late. I was probably I tell the story and I don't even know the actual how.
What were you listening to when you were a little kid?
We were country music fans. My parents were crazy about country, and it was all country all the time in the station wagon. And we would go see country music concerts. It was kind of the transition time of country when it was getting not over the top cheesy, but it was like Alan Jackson was coming in, and it was getting a little more sticky than it was kind of these heartfelt songs of my youth. But it was all country music. It was odd for a kid to be until I really got to high school was exclusively country music listener and kind of proud of that fact. But then I got really into punk when I was in high school.
And where'd that come from?
I'm not entirely sure.
There wasn't
really
some kid name.
There was a
whatever.
There was my.
Gotta check this out.
One of my buddies who used to take me to school in the morning. He was more of a metalhead, and I don't know exactly how I got. And so he would listen to, we'd listen to Metallica and Danzig and Anthrax, and then I started listening to punk. But it was more of the Southern California stuff. I started kind of getting into hardcore stuff, and then that's when I got a guitar, kind of.
Yeah.
But I was more like Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, Descendants, stuff that was a little more melodic, maybe. And then I got a guitar. We'd go drink beers at my buddy's house, and his dad would play John Prine songs and some of the quirkier kind of Dylan songs. And I was 18, 19, maybe. And I was like, let's go get a guitar.
When you talk about music, I don't know if you think this. I think this. When I was younger, like when I met someone, shook their hands, hey, nice to meet you. Within the first, let's say 7 to 9 minutes of talking to someone, I would say, what kind of music do you like? Because it would be like a straight up indicator. It would tell you a lot about them. And nowadays, like sometimes I meet you, I got 4 kids and they're all whatever, 20, 19, 17, and 10. And for a while I would say, well, what kind of music do you like to these kids? And they're just, there's so much music.
Right.
There's so much music out there that it's, you used to get the weird avoidance answer to that question. It was like, oh, I listen to everything. Yeah, I listen to everything.
Right.
And I used to say, okay, so to me, that used to mean, you have no personality. If you don't say, bro, I like Nordic death metal or whatever, then I know you. I know who you are. Or, I like the Dead. Okay, I know who you are. Or whatever. I like, whatever, hair metal, Leif Babin. So it used to identify kind of like who you are, right?
Sure. I mean, it was even part of the fashion. Like you couldn't really like everything. If you were into one thing, that's what you looked like. You had the big hair, or if you were in a punk, you maybe looked like a skinhead. If you were in, you wore the pants. If you were in the country, you had the pants with the stitching, or it's like, it was almost an identifier.
Yeah. And then people nowadays, there's just so much music and it's so accessible. So when I was a kid, in order to get music that we wanted to hear, we had to go to New York. Maybe we had to go to a good record store, which they just weren't all over the place. There's one in Waterbury, good. Brass City, get some. But we'd go there that was part of the inhibitor. The other part was money. Like it costs $21 for an album. Mm-hmm. And we just didn't. So I love music. And I had probably, I don't know, 30 albums that I just listened to over and over and over again. And then you borrow one from someone. And of course we got we got tape cassettes too. You'd get the dub tape cassette. Oh yeah. But even that was kind of hard to get because they would all sound like crap. Not that we really cared that much. I mean, let's face it. Nowadays, everybody kind of listens to everything.
There's a lot out there.
Not to mention all the crossover. See what I'm saying? You got country and you got the Nas Kid, who's Old Town Road. We got a lot of crossovers. Is what I'm saying.
So you're just opening it up even wider.
Even more. Yeah. Now you really are listening to everything. See what I'm saying?
Things are getting crazy.
It's crazy too.
It's kind of upsetting, though. It's really like when they start rapping in country.
They do throw you for a loop sometimes.
It's just like, this is not.
I don't know. You're saying that's upsetting. Echo doesn't seem upset by that.
He doesn't.
I'm just observing the landscape of music at the moment.
Bro, let me tell you. Look, Echo's a decent guy.
Thank you.
When we go places, he drives, I ride, which means he gets control of the music situation.
Yes.
Which is a problem.
For you, I can see how that could be. Yes.
So you said you played D1 college. So you get into college. Did you get into college? Where'd you go to college?
I went 2 years at a junior college in Huntington Beach, Golden West College, and then I did 2 years at St. Mary's College, which was in the East Bay in Moraga. Same league as, at the time at least, was like Pepperdine, Santa Clara, Loyola Marymount, San Diego, UC San Diego.
Okay.
That league.
And did you, so is that when you were talking that you got a guitar, or was that still in high school you got a guitar?
It was prior to that. So
okay.
Probably when I was 19, probably about when, I don't know if it was the summer between my senior year in high school.
Oh.
And college.
Your dad held you back. You were old, right?
I was not old. I was not old.
Dude, the hardcore wrestling families, their kids are going to school. They're they're graduating when they're 23 years old. That's the way it works.
But he's a college professor, so I think education was equally, as, if not more important to him than our dominance in sports and wrestling. So,
dude, wrestling's crazy, man.
Right?
I mean, I know. I mean, my kids wrestle, and it's mayhem. It's mayhem. You want to talk about political? Your dad's talking about soccer. Come to a freaking wrestling tournament. It's insane, man. It's insane. Go to the state championships in Bakersfield, California. It's insane. It's awesome.
I bet.
Okay, so you're still in high school and you're 27 years old. No, so you're still in high school, and that's when you go. You hear a little bit of acoustic music that you go, oh.
Yeah, just that my friend's dad would play. We'd just drink beers and he would hang out and he would play just songs, and I was like, oh, that looks easy.
Oh wait, so he was playing guitar.
He was playing guitar and singing himself.
Got it.
He wasn't playing records. He wasn't spinning records. He was actually singing and playing them, Sambulo.
Damn.
And he wrote down a few chords for me, and then I was on my way. And I didn't even really learn songs. I started writing songs almost immediately, not with the agenda to be like, oh, I'm going to be a musician, a songwriter. I was still a baseball player. That was still the dream, you know? And I don't know. I just kept writing.
Were you feeling any of the baseball burnout at that point?
Yeah, totally. I had it. No, and
You had it in fourth grade.
No, the reality of it is, in high school, I was still super serious about it. Once I hit junior college, I was less serious about it and wasn't even that great, I don't think. And actually,
what happened to Cal Ripken over here, bro?
He started smoking weed and surfing during the summer, you know? I mean, at that level, at Division I, everyone goes to Alaska or somewhere, some far off place playing summer ball all the time. And I never did that, ever. I would just surf and hang out at 20th Street with my buddies. And then, I come back from summer and they're like, you out of shape, yeah, it wasn't. I had kind of lost the love for it a little bit, but then when they're going to pay for my college education, and they saw me at some All-Star game, and I went off. I hit like a home run and 2 doubles or something like that, and saw that I was could move well for a big person, and then got a scholarship out of that. And so I was like, well, okay, a couple more years, it's not going to hurt anybody. It was actually really fun.
So then so when you got your guitar, you're still in high school, and you're immediately writing songs. Like you had that thought that I kind of, from my interpretation of that thought is, it's a pain to try and learn what someone else is doing, but if I just make something up, then it's a little easier. Was there any of that there?
It may have been. That's like the story of my whole existence. It's kind of just the easiest path to something. And I'll be like, oh, you didn't even really try that hard to be doing that, And
I'm assuming you never took any lessons or anything?
No, I never did. I never took any lessons. I mean, the first song I wrote a song when I knew like E minor and G, and then wrote a song like about suicide or something, like something super, but like a narrative about like some guy jumping off a building or something. And I was like, why is it? And I wasn't even that disturbed as a child, I was like I was pretty happy-go-lucky, but just immediately started writing.
What was the name of the first song?
It's called The Jumper.
Dang. Has it ever been released?
No, and I was trying to remember the lyrics, and they weren't as nearly as crafted as they are today,
Well, you got me beat, because I think the first song that my band, we had a bunch of bands when I was a kid, and the name that has survived is Bronson's Children, named after Charles Bronson. And even though we never made an album, and even though we did record about 15 songs in the studio, but more important than that, we made cool T-shirts. So we had these cool T-shirts that we have them on the Jocko store. They're just a picture of Charles Bronson's face,
nice.
And then underneath, in little kids like toddler writing, it says Bronson's Children, with like a backwards R type thing. But I think the first song that I can remember was, there was this weird televangelist dude that was on late night TV. His name was Dr. Gene Scott. And
I remember with the big kind of gray hair.
Yes, that's him.
Yes.
That's him.
But public access.
Yeah, public access.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like one of these people. He sort of berated the audience, kind of, right?
I think he was like the gateway between like Donahue or Maury Povich or whatever that.
I don't even know. But anyways, we would watch him. He'd kind of berate his, you need to donate now. It was one of those things. And there's the whatever. And so the first song in Bronson's Children was a song called Dr. Scott, Get Off the Air. Yes. And there was a great little chorus where it was, get off the air, and then someone was in the back going, get him off the air, get off the air. There it was. So yeah, so you were beating me, man. You were already going deep early.
Yeah, I went dark super early. Yeah.
And then so at some point during college, so did you play your whole 4 years of baseball?
Yeah. Graduated in 4 years and played all 4 years.
And then what did you major in, or whatever
History.
that's called?
History was my major.
Were you thinking was that just the easiest thing to take?
I
As you said earlier?
had an inspiring teacher in junior college that made history interesting, and so decided to go that path. I don't really retain much of it, but some of the time they seep into songs and whatnot. There'd be kind of period piece songs that I'll write. But yeah, not with the idea that I was going to be a teacher. I mean, what do you really do with it, right? I mean,
I'm asking you that.
yeah, no. I was still like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Now I got this guitar thing. Oh, maybe I'll do that now.
How long did it take you to start thinking, oh man, I can maybe make something work?
It took me a long time to even consider myself a musician. I probably had, I don't know, 30 songs under my belt and would play it. I would play at the pub on campus.
How much practice did you do?
Not much.
Like, once you got the guitar, did you? Okay, that's awesome.
No, I mean, it's still, it's still a primitive, I still have a very primitive style of playing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, I don't really dazzle anybody with my virtuosity, It's just like, it's the vehicle for the songs and for the voice. And I know I do have my own style kind of playing because it's fairly percussive, but it's primitive. Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably break strings more than anyone maybe ever on acoustic guitar for
So
sure.
you pick up the guitar and you start writing songs, you start playing songs, but you're not one of these people that, like, I had friends growing up where they got obsessed, and they were just like learning scales and whatever the hell else you learn when you're trying to get good at guitar, which I
never did. I never took lessons or never. Yeah, and I don't. It took me a while to go like, oh, this is maybe what I want to do even, and I just kept on writing songs, and I started having kind of a catalog of songs.
So when you graduate from college, what did you do? Did you get a job at somewhere?
I waited tables. I went back and lived with my parents for a while to save up some money. Waited tables, and then moved to San Francisco and waited tables, and then with kind of the intention that I was going to go and start hitting the clubs and trying to make some kind of a presence of my songwriting or my performance or whatever it was going to be, And
did San Francisco seem like the move for some reason?
I don't know if because it was close in proximity to where I went to college. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why we chose that. I think my brother had a job there. That was lined up, and so we went there and lived together. Me and my brother lived together, and but it was shitty. It was not a good environment. It was when DJs started taking over almost all small clubs.
What year is this?
This is 98 to maybe 2002. Okay. I lived in San Francisco. Probably play twice a year in the corner of some shit dive bar or like at a coffee shop, smuggle some tequila in and ruin the show on the second set, kind of thing. But So 98 to 2002, you're up there, you're playing occasionally in the back of some freaking whatever. Yeah, and waiting tables to survive. And
were you? But this was your goal. Your goal was to be a musician at this point.
Yeah, but it was loose and lazy. Kind of, and just not realized. I mean, I used to not get gigs. I didn't have shit. I didn't have. So I would make cassette tapes on through my brother's Pioneer dual cassette player, right? through the PA, and I would record and I would lay down 10 songs, and then I would send them to friends and send them to family for presents for like Christmas or for whatever, right? And and I had no press. I had no.
I'm picturing people opening up. I'm like, oh, we got another freaking tape cassette from
another
Jake.
mixtape.
Oh yeah, thank you. This thing's going in the shit can. Oh, that's painful. So you're thinking? Are you thinking that's gonna be a hobby? Or are you just thinking, hey, it's fun?
I want to do it, but I don't have the know-how or maybe the drive really to really know what I'm doing. I mean, my brother was my manager. I saw this. He was doing shit. But we found this old tape, and it had we had this little band in in Huntington Beach, like right when I had been playing guitar for like 6 months maybe, and these guys heard me singing. They're like, "Holy shit! Like, let's start a band." And one guy played bass and the other guy played drums, and we started a band called Living Room. Right? This is right. Room to live, but then it could be very started in the living room as well. You know, so there was all this. It was silly, and we're fucking terrible. And but on the cassette, it says Living Room, and then boom. No, there's no title to the whatever the little EP thing. It's only cassettes, by the way. And Matt Smith, my brother's name, and his phone number, big, multiple times on the cassette. Yeah. So it was like, it looks pretty, bro.
All those freaking Hollywood people just looking for that number to dial,
right? They're like, wow, this is Matt Smith. This guy must have a bunch of clients, probably.
So I'm still trying to figure this out, right? You're in San Francisco. It seems like you are very persistent, but not very focused, or maybe something like that. Or is it just you just didn't know what to do?
I was passionate about writing songs, and I would keep writing songs. So these laughable cassettes that I was creating were making their way down. So I actually had a buddy who's in the surf industry, and he was a rep for some surf companies, and these cassette tapes started going to other people. He would give one to one, and then they would go cassette to cassette, you know?
Old school viral.
Right?
Old school viral, right? Jake Smith.
As much as it could be. And that...
But wait a second. I'm just going to confirm this. We're in 1998 or 2000?
This is before that.
Oh, okay.
This is before that when I was making the cassettes and giving them out. So this was one my couple junior college years, I think, that I was creating these cassettes, and they were kind of moving around. But I was unaware that other people were listening to them, or other people were making duplicates of this. And then I got a call from one of the guys, Shelter, the guy who made Shelter, Chris Malloy,
yeah.
when I was living in San Francisco. And he said, "Hey, I want to use one of your songs in one of my surf films." And I was like, "What? Like, how do you know?"
You didn't know him at the time?
I didn't know him. No.
Oh,
this was one of just the cassette went to this guy, this guy, and then he ended up with one, and one of the songs he said he wanted to use off one of these cassettes.
That's freaking
and I was like, why? You know, because I was used to, you know, surf films were airs and punk and fast ass music, and they're like, he's like, you know, we're making this kind of more arty thing, and it was just me and an acoustic guitar. It was Wrong.
Yeah, it was Wrong.
Was a song, and then that.
Yeah, because that was like a soul kind of
there was
transition
story, and there was story
in the Shelter flick, and
the
Malloy brothers are all cool guys.
Totally.
Then so that happens, and then all of a sudden, does that give you a little inspirato, like you could make it happen?
That didn't give me the that gave me a little validation and said like, oh yeah, maybe I'm doing the right or doing something. This is maybe something to pursue harder. They asked me to come and play the.
All these are just you and your guitar.
Oh yeah,
there's no band.
No band, just me solo, and that's partially why I play guitar the way I do, because I used to just fill the space with everything, not with noodling, but just with strumming, and there's a lot of up down and percussive stuff. And then they asked me to play the premiere of the movie down in San Diego. So I come down and I play 30 minutes before the movie, and I see people singing along to other songs of mine from these silly cassettes, right? And I'm like, what is going on? What is this? And I have shit going on in San Francisco. My brother had gone off and was like working at the Olympics or something. So he had left San Francisco, and I had this like drunk ass roommate, and I packed my shit up and quit my job, and then moved down to Southern California, and then started kind of fresh, a little more focused, but not very focused still. You know, and then it was a long road, you know, a lot of couches. Then it was just couches. Then I didn't have another job.
So wait, so you just said, I missed it. You moved to San Diego, or you moved to LA?
I moved to Orange County.
To Orange County.
Yeah.
The surf industry in there.
Yeah.
Was that kind of what drew you to it?
And it was a weird, I mean, for the variety of songs I write, which many of them are quite dark, or at least emotional or visceral in a way, that the surf industry I thought was odd kind of place to pick it up and pick up, you know, go like, oh yeah, this is, you know, this might make you cry. Let's put that in a surf film, you know. It was an odd place to start, I thought, or at least to get kind of a.
What year was it that you moved down here?
2002.
Oh, okay. What year did Shelter come out?
Probably around then.
Okay.
I bet it's that same time. It was pretty
all around that
immediate
same time.
after that happened. I was like, oh shit! Nothing was happening, and I'd been in San Francisco for 4 years. Nothing was going to happen in San Francisco. You know, I wasn't. I was idle. I was too idle, and I needed something to push myself. And so I needed to make a change.
So you get down here. Then what's the next step? Now you're not waiting tables anymore. Are you somehow getting by?
Hardly though. I mean, like playing every other Wednesday at this sushi bar in Seal Beach, and playing in the corner of this barbecue restaurant in Santa Ana, and just like
Tip jar
making, you know, between $50 and $300 a pop, and sleeping on people's couches. Stayed at my buddy's house for like maybe a year and a half in their guest room.
No, that's a buddy.
Super. I mean, he's a beautiful man, Scott Marsh. I'm grateful for that time, because it really allowed me to, I don't know, it allowed me to at least craft what I was doing, and at least get some stage time, performance time, before anything was really happening.
And so how long were you in that situation before? When's the first time you went into a studio and recorded? Not on a Pioneer tape deck.
Yeah, it was after. So it was after Shelter came out. Those same cassettes had gotten to the guy Bob Hurley, who owns Hurley, and he paid for me to make my first album. And I actually made it with a surfer up in San Diego, Peter King. Do you know Peter?
I don't know.
He had a home studio at his house, and I made my first album, which was Hogtied Like a Rodeo, which I discontinued and redid at some point in my career, because I wasn't totally loving how it turned out, because I was super green and I'd been in the studio. I only knew the Pioneer, you know. I didn't know that
There was more than a record button.
Right.
Echo Charles, take note.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You gotta
Play and record at the same time. That's how you
play and
make it
record
happen.
at the same time. Okay, there was some complications, you know. But
What happened to that album? Like what happened to that album that you felt like you lost control of it a little bit? Did they go and overproduce it or something? Were they like, hey, we're gonna bring in Jimmy on the freaking lead guitar and get his Fender in here and start cranking out notes?
Yeah, I mean, I was raw, and I liked kind of some of the rawness, and it seemed to get a little too produced in a way. I would just like leave town. I would go somewhere and visit some people, and then they would have musicians would come in and play on it, and then they'd be like, "Hey, check this out," and I'd be like, "Oh, well, I don't know." You know, it wasn't. I wasn't at the command at all.
That's weird.
It was out of my hands, that was the only time I really made that mistake. You know. But you live and you learn, and in happenstance to look back and go like, you know, you discontinue it and then you re-recorded it later, which seems like it was a moment in time. And even if I was green, I think the songs were still good. Why I re-recorded it and discontinued that other one, I don't know why. But you try to find that one. Like there's some like Japanese sites and stuff that'll have that CD, which there weren't that many of them because they were just like. That are like $500 or something, just stupid, you know, for this. Well, and you could probably get it on the internet, just as easy.
Webs. So that's the first album that comes out. Does it come out? Is that the right word?
No.
Did it even come out, or was it just like, hey, we're making it?
It doesn't come out. I sell it at shows. That's it. You know, we have this kind of fictitious label that Bob and this guy Paul Gomez make, and it is. Yeah, nothing really happens. I'm still playing at the sushi bar, doing that and I was in that state for quite some time, you know, like 2 years.
2 years of sushi bar tip jar.
Sushi bar tip jar.
Then what happened from there that got you away from the sushi bar and the tip jar?
It was I think I moved up because I met my wife, and I moved up to Los Angeles and met some people, got kind of a manager, and we went in the studio and recorded my first EP.
This
is just the White Buffalo, and it's I think it's 5-6 songs on that, which was super stripped down.
Now, was this who's paying for this? You know, who is running? Who bought you studio time?
This was a my manager at the time was managing Donovan Frankenreiter.
Oh, okay.
And
Dang.
I would open up for him. I started opening up for him, and I would get some exposure doing that, and met the keyboard player, this guy who actually played for the Eels as well.
Okay.
Rusty, I forgot his last name. He went by Cool G Murder, and he was kind of
Rusty, whatever.
But he had this like, he's redhead, had this big like ginger beard, kind of like wispy, not a whole lot of hair, and called himself Cool G. He was cool as shit.
What was his nickname? Cool G Murder?
Cool G Murder. It says, if you had that EP and you looked on Produced By, it says produced by Cool G Murder.
I will check that out.
Hell yeah.
So you record this thing. Are we still pre like internet, whatever MP3 situations?
Yeah. We're still, sales are still, I don't even know if we're digital. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was iTunes and that stuff had been.
I don't know either.
I don't think so, because I think they date that EP on iTunes as something way later than it actually was.
Got it.
So
when that album comes out, what happens? Is it freaking
nothing?
Just no factor.
I independently release it myself, and it's just me selling it basically at shows. And I think when the digital format comes up, I get it up on there, and that's it. Nothing is happening. I ended up doing that for a couple.
So you're in that state
still, and it's still a couple albums, and then I put a couple more albums out doing that in that state almost.
Man, at what point did you start to feel some forward moment? Like I was saying earlier, man, I went and saw you at UCSD in like a little cafe, and there's 15 people in there.
Yeah.
And it was actually like me, my wife, her friends, our friends. We were all sitting there.
Yeah, and I remember that, and everyone's like sitting Indian style on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm super stoked.
Sure.
I'm like, this is so rad. Like, yeah.
I mean, it's been just this super long haul of not too many spikes. I mean, later I'm starting. I mean, it's not until I get, probably start getting the actual TV licenses where stuff starts getting more serious.
And that doesn't come until what year?
I was still independent. Didn't have. I had Hogtied Revisited now under my belt, which is a full length album and 2 EPs, and I didn't have a manager. I didn't have a booking agent, anything. And my lawyer asked the music supervisor for Sons of Anarchy to lunch, and said, "Hey, I got this guy. I think it'll work. He writes murder songs and conflicted emotional songs,
when you're in that state, so you're in this state, like there's got to be a point, there's got to be a thought that goes through your mind of, all right, like this ain't gonna work. I gotta figure out how I gotta feed my family. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get a mortgage. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna buy a house. Was that thought in your mind, or was it were you getting by enough? Were you having, you obviously you love playing live, at least as far as I can tell, you freaking love playing live. Is that a good enough time? We're like, hey, this is a cool job right now and I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very small means, and we didn't need that much money to survive really at that point. I remember I got off another surf movie I did, this one from Jason Baffa called Single Thin Yellow, and I did a little piece off that, and that was the first time I ever like wrote to picture, one of the only times actually. And I came up with that song and that idea, and then I redid it and recorded it on my first EP, and made it into a more of a song. Mm-hmm. When before it was just this thing. They used that piece, like Walmart called me for a commercial out of nowhere too. I didn't have a publisher. They thought I was a publisher and quoted me some money they were gonna give me. I was like, holy shit, are you kidding me? And I was like, Walmart. I was like, no, fuck yeah, Walmart. and then I
want that Walmart money, son.
But then I remember I was like, oh wait, let me, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. Let me pass it on to my manager at the time, right? Who was pretty green. he ends up getting less money somehow than I had negotiated initially.
That's because that's.
But still, but it was more. It was, but it was more money than I'd ever seen, and it was like, oh, okay, here's, I could have lived off that. That was more money than I'd made probably in the previous 4 years.
Wow.
Of doing the music.
So you are getting. It's like you're when you were a kid and you had some girlfriend and like she would break up with you, but she would string you along, right? You know that? And people say, don't string people along. It's like you were getting strung along by
the little carrot.
Little carrot that's like, another good. I made some good tips tonight. And then you get the big call from Walmart. It's on like Donkey Kong,
right?
So that was from Single Thing Yellow, which is a kick-ass movie. They take this board and they send it around the world. A bunch of different people surf it in a bunch of different wild spots. But this is still you're not, able to just, or are you able to just survive on being a musician at this point?
Yeah, and I was.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
had been for a bit. I did use my college degree for a little substitute teaching, which was hilarious. Oh, man. Kind of hilarious, but kind of heartbreaking at the same time.
Why do you say that?
Middle school kids are pretty dangerous, are pretty confused and pissed. And so I ended up breaking up more fights than I was teaching anybody anything, or, I wasn't, there's not much of a lesson plan often left for the substitute teacher. So you're showing a movie, or you're just trying to keep the kids safe.
I was going to say, don't get thrown out the window is the lesson plan.
Right. So, but I didn't do that long or very, very, very often.
When you're in this period of your life, I mean, the songs that you write, the music that you write, the lyrics that you write, I'm projecting my thoughts onto this, but when you're sitting working in a dive bar somewhere playing a gig and you look over in the corner and you see this character, does that develop into, hey, I know what that guy's thinking, or I'm thinking about what that person's life is like? Did that add? Is it good that you went through this time period of where you were kind of struggling through and making things happen? Does that incorporate into the things you think about?
I mean, I honestly think the way that I did it was beneficial to me as a songwriter and as an artist for this long of a time. That if I would have had somebody come in and go like, hey, wow, this he can sing and he writes these pretty good songs, but like why don't we develop this guy into something else, into a country star or something else? And instead, I was able to be 100% true to the songs I write, the artist that I wanted to be, and never had to do anything that I didn't want to do. It always my vision and always 100% from me, which is super rare these days, especially. I mean, there's like, a song on the radio, you got 15 people wrote it, it's like, it's kind of unheard of. But I think that this super long haul that it's taken me, and even now I'm still a little secret, it's not like I'm a superstar or people know who I am. I walk down the street. It's like rare for me to get noticed, I'm always kind of like put off by somebody going like, hey, are you the, I'll be like, oh yeah, I am. And then they'll be like, oh shit, I love you. People that really like me. But most people don't know about me, which I'm kind of, it's a sweet spot, kind of, for me. I mean, I'm not making millions of dollars, but I'm doing okay. I can survive and provide. But I'm not, I can still be me, do what I want to do, and not be, afraid to go out in public at all.
That's good. Does So you were just getting to the point where I cut you off and redirected the story in a totally different direction because that was really cool.
That's fine.
But you were talking about so you got this manager guy, and he knows the musician director from Sons of Anarchy.
That was actually post. So I had my first guy and first manager. He's actually my second manager, who was managing Donovan Frankenreiter. Mm-hmm. And I ended up touring with him for probably a year and a half when I was with him. It went to Japan, went all over the world. And this was when he peaked, when Donovan was kind of peaking and was
Dude, were you just living the dream?
it was, I mean, they let me travel on the bus. I was like, we weren't in the sushi bar anymore. It felt good.
Yeah. Bro.
And just to see the world. I mean,
when
you're seeing the world and you're getting perspectives and different, it really opens your mind traveling.
When I was in the SEAL teams, I was on when I would be on deployment, I would know in my mind, like every day, I would know that this was like the best, I was kind of just loving life, living, people always say living the dream. I was living the dream. I was actually doing exactly what I always dreamed of doing for my whole life.
That's amazing.
Seems like that's what would be, you being on tour.
It was. I just had I didn't have, and maybe that's been my outlook a lot of the time, to kind of have low expectations and then not be really that disappointed. Mm-hmm. And even when I'm not getting accolades, or I'm not getting, playing huge rooms but making enough money to be okay and feel pretty okay about what I'm doing and still being true to myself, was enough, and has always kind of been enough for me.
Okay, so you get a pretty good launch. You get a taste of the road.
Right?
Get a taste of the road, bro. You're there. And then when you get done touring with that tour, what's the next step?
We started, I don't know where we were at. Where was I at that moment? I'm probably, the next big step is getting the Sons of Anarchy stuff, for sure. That put me in a place where now I could go, well, after the show, really. It was like the third season, I think they started using my stuff.
So it's once again, I just cut you off randomly and said, hey, let's take this. So how did that come about that you ended up on Sons of Anarchy?
No, so it was my lawyer, Steve Sessa, who I still have today, invited the music supervisor to lunch and said, listen, I have this guy, he's an unsigned artist, doesn't have any management, doesn't have anything, puts on his own albums. I think he was a big fan of the show, of Sons of Anarchy, and he's like, the conflict in these, it's like the show is basically these emotional men doing kind of terrible shit, And I have a lot of that kind of conflict in some of my songs too, that it's something that's, God, this guy feels like kind of a badass, but God, he's maybe kind of a sweetheart underneath. Or you feel for this guy who's really, it's a murder song, but he's kind of the hero though at the same time. So It's this conflict to him was perfect for that show. And then he gave him my whole catalog basically. And then in not that long at all, they were like, okay, yeah, we're going to use this in the next, in 3 episodes or something. And, but that was a slow thing as well. Mm-hmm. That was, they'd use this one song and then they use another song, but then they ended up using, I think 7 or 8 of my own songs that were my own compositions that were already out there. And then they had me come and sing on stuff. So stuff that they would create that was part of the soundtrack. And just how they used music in that show. I don't know if you watched it, but it was we do these montages at the end that would be, the song would be part of the story. Mm-hmm. And it would just be these montages, visuals, and they would play the song at full length, at full volume, and it would be like another character. And then I think people started recognizing my voice and saying, man, what is this? Maybe we should go deeper, into this. And at that point, I hadn't been to Europe on my own as an artist. I'd only opened up for people, and you don't really know what kind of legs you have in places. Mm-hmm. You don't know when you don't have any history in places. And if you just opened up for somebody, you don't really have history, because really you're just playing for their people. Mm-hmm. So then shit's going better and getting better, and we go, man, we got to check out Europe. I don't know what's, we're starting to play bigger rooms all over the country, and no clubs will want us. They never heard of us, And they're like, and then we're like, well, at least we'll, we got a festival somewhere. So we're like, okay, we're going to play this festival in Spain or something. So, but we got to try to play in London and just see what tickets are like, see what happens. So we play this like little tiny room. We're going to play like a 200 cap room that sells out in like an hour. And they're like, oh shit. Well, they're like, what's going on? And then they're like, well, let's bump up the room. And then they bump it up to like 700 capacity, which was bigger than I'm playing most of the places in the States. And then that sells out in another hour.
Dang.
And then they're like, wow, what's going on? And then so we just went and we played a couple shows in Europe, and then realized like, okay, this is a viable market. Like we can make some money over here, and we have a fan base. And I think almost due to the popularity of that show, You know, at that point, I signed with a label, you know, small kind of boutique label, which basically was these two guys that were producers and engineers who produced and engineered 4 albums. I just have left now, and I'm on with a different label
What made
now.
you decide to go? Why did you need? You've been doing it yourself. What made you make the transition?
It was not. I never had any, even though there wasn't much of a machine behind those other albums, and still now, not really. I just wanted to get in the game. You know what I mean? I'd never been in the game, you know? And I was just like, I'm just an island. I'm still kind of an island. But then I was like, I wasn't even in the game, you know? And they're like, dude, you know, I think somebody was just like, dude, get in the game. Like, what are you even doing? Like, you don't have a label? You know, it wasn't like I had the know-how or anything when I'm independently releasing things. No, it wasn't like it was fucking 6 months setup to be like, oh, all right, the album's going to come out May 20th, and we're going to be promoting this thing. No, it was when it was done.
What's our marketing plan look like for the next album?
There was nothing. It would just go up. I would just put it up. It would be, I'd finish something, and then I would just put it up, you know, digitally and make CDs.
So then you sign with these guys? Is that the right terminology?
Yeah. Yeah. And we did like a 3-album, 4-album deal with them.
Are you the? Is this all your decision making? You're the guy.
Yeah, I ended up getting my manager right when I was signing. I was looking for somebody else. I was like in between. I think I'd had like 3 different managers who were all, I don't want to say hacks, but like they weren't. I just did probably, but they weren't.
Yes, you did.
They weren't as professional or as right for me. I'll just say that they weren't maybe right for me to try to get me to another plateau. And now I got Jeff Varner, who's great and smart and political, and also though very in my corner as far as still allowing me to have my vision and do what I want to do musically. So right before that, we do the deal. I sign with him as well, or I bring him on as my manager. Mm-hmm. Been with him ever since.
And then so now you're officially in the game. Now you're selling out places in Europe. And what does it look like when you get back to the States? Because it's weird. You know, it's weird how that can happen. And I got some other friends that are musicians, and like overseas, they're freaking massive, and back here, there's just not action.
I mean, it's crazy, and I don't even know some markets. I mean, we've never been to South America. Like, if you look on my comments, you look on any YouTube thing I have, every other comment has come to Brazil or something. Brazil. We've never been to Brazil. It's far. It's a little sketchy, right? I don't know when we'll get there. I want to get there, you know, but we're doing better. It's a slow build. We never go down. You know, which I appreciate, but still in places like the South, we haven't had that much touring history. I've probably done like 2 or 3 tours there, and we're still building that.
And is it weird because how do you categorize your music?
And that's part
because
of it.
that's got to be an issue.
That's part of the issue, and that's an issue with labels some of the time too, because they don't understand it. It doesn't fit in any really category. You know, even you have this Americana idea now, but it doesn't. It's not
air quotes.
whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem. I don't know. It feels like I don't belong in that genre either. I mean, part of it does. Part of it's kind of this country. There's country elements. There's rock elements. There's some more aggressive, more punk stuff. There's folk stuff. There's ballads. There's, you know, it belongs in anything. It's organic.
Yeah.
And it comes from 3 guys playing, or, you know, if we put some other stuff on albums, but it's we're the most stripped down band that you'll ever see, really. I mean, other than if it's one guy playing guitar. I mean, it's 3 guys with no effects.
Yeah.
There's no vocal effects. There's no effects on my guitar. There's no nothing. It's 3 guys.
So that's an issue, because you can't say, oh, there's this, you know, this other band that kind of fits in the White Buffalo category, and we can play with these 4 other bands. We can do a festival or whatever, because where do you really fit?
At the same time, though, but you can fit in all other little categories too.
Nice.
There's benefits to that too, because
Nice.
I can play a rock festival,
Yeah.
or I can play a country festival. You know,
Yeah, because you're kind of like your own, your own little genre.
Yeah, I never. Hopefully, that I have my own sound, kind of.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately.
And not to mention, I think you're the only person that writes murder songs,
right? Or at least ones you could dance
ballads
to.
and love songs and murder songs. Oh, I guess that's right. I guess I'm leaving out all my death metal brothers out there who write 100% murder songs. You're the only one out there doing acoustic folk murder songs. Even though, have you ever heard? What is it called? Viking folk metal? Have you ever heard that?
Viking folk metal?
Yes. No. They play like traditional Viking instruments, but they're playing metal.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, that's part
There's
of
another group you could
come
fit
from
in
like Viking blood, so that might be maybe that's my genre.
I was going to say, well, at least you can slide in there. You can maybe do some Viking folk metal. What are they called? Festivals.
I mean, if they exist, absolutely.
You're in.
Probably somewhere in Scandinavia, right? I'm sure there's that going on.
So when you're where do the songs come from?
Like the majority of them, if not all of them, come from just silence, from nowhere. A lot of them will be gibberish or something. They just come in out of being quiet, and they often. I will say something, sing something, and I will recognize what the important part is, or the piece of it that has some validity or worth, and expand on that one little idea most of the time. Some of the time I'll sing something that just I don't even know where it came from. It's I can sing a whole verse and a chorus, not with an idea that I'm going to write a song about this. I don't even know what they're about initially, and then I craft them into things that hopefully have some kind of emotional response.
So there's some level of you being on the lookout for a little nugget of goodness that you can grab onto and plant and
I just
water.
feel lucky. Like I feel like they're lucky little diamonds that come out of fucking the ether. You know what I mean? And I think my gift is recognizing what those little lucky moments are to go like, oh, let me grab that. That's a good idea. And I know that I can craft something off of one very small idea to realize how I can turn that into a whole concept or a whole song pretty quick. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I had better stories about it. I was talking to Robert O'Keefe, did a podcast with him, and he was like, well, tell me where were you at? What was this? What's the inspiration behind this? I'm like, there's no inspiration. It's just imagined. It's like imagination is that the inspiration? Yeah. But it's not in my head. I'm not like, it's not, there's no pre-thought about it. Rarely.
It's born in your head.
Yeah.
It just comes from your head.
Yeah.
That's like so I was an English major in college. I'll have you know. So what you're saying right now, I'm going to put you on the spot. So what you're saying right now is there was these people and there's all this controversy, and I'm not even going to remember it that well because I really don't remember that much of college. But there would be people that would say, I wrote this poem. I just wrote it. And I'm talking like classical, like real famous literature people. Oh, the word is that this person just wrote this. It just came out. And it's like they didn't have to work for it. That's kind of what you're doing. You're just like, hey, I'm over here just freaking just developing nuggets of gold.
I'm rarely doing that. They're rarely that easy. But the inception of them, the beginnings of them are that easy. But some of the time it's a very small little piece of something. And it's not very rarely. Sometimes I have sat down in my lifetime and just something spilled out, and then you're like, holy shit, there it is. Like Love Song Number 1 is one kind of like that. That was off my first EP that just kind of spilled out, and then I was like, well, there's like, what was that? What is that about? There's even a moment in the song where I'm still like, what is that even about? And just left it in kind of. Now I edit more stuff now, and make every word perfect, or as perfect as I feel like I can make it, But
and then what's the deal on, what do you owe? In other words, are you like, hey, I better get another album out in another, because you just put out your latest album, what, a few months ago?
Yeah, April 17th.
April 17th. So now, do you start feeling the pressure in your head? of I need to do more because I needed to cut another album? Do you start feeling pressure in your head that you got ideas in there that need to get out? Do you not even think about it?
I don't even think about it. I don't like I'll write here and there, and there'll be little snippets in my phone, but I don't really think about it. Even this last record, who I did with Shooter Jennings, produced it. That I didn't think I had hardly any songs going into talking with him and meeting with him. And the night before, we went out drinking like the first time and didn't even talk about working together. Really, we were just talking about life and just get drunk. We got drunk for like 4 hours.
Where'd you meet him at?
Where did we get drunk at, or where'd
you meet? Where'd you get drunk?
Frolic Room on like Hollywood.
Well, I mean, randomly?
No.
Like
it was set up. It was like a blind date between our managers. Set us up, thinking that this might be a match made in heaven. But no, I went in the first time to meet him to kind of show him what I'd been working on or something, to develop some songs. And I was like, I don't have shit. I feel like I don't have shit. I woke up the night before and had an idea, sang it into my phone, and was like, okay, well, at least I can show him that tomorrow, and then we'll work on that all day and see what happens. And I take that to him, I sing it to him, sing him the idea. It was actually quite realized, but it's like my son was like sleeping. I had this little tiny studio fucking place for sleeping in, and my son's sleeping on the, so you're like, oh, son of a, like, I can't even make out what I'm saying, but I'm trying to be quiet as to not wake him. And I show him this thing the next day, and then I sing it, and we work it out in like 20 minutes. And then I already have it kind of realized. And he's like, well, what else do you have? And I was like, oh, I have, this. And he's like, well, that's amazing. Explore that. He's like, well, what else do you have? And I was like, oh, how about this? And he's like, do that. Like, explore that. And and then we just went down, and I was like, okay. And then after that little meeting, I went on just I go on little writing tears, little benders. And then I just basically wrote the whole album in about a week and a half. And before I was like, I have little snippets that are coming in, but then to realizing them and finish them really fast. Sometimes it's like sometimes it's out of just inspiration and desperation.
So the little pressure can maybe squeeze something out of you. Yeah. Have you ever been in a point where you were feeling pressure but just nothing was coming out?
I had another album, Love and the Death of Damnation, that I remember I used to, with the old producers, I would go and I would sing, I would have all these ideas, and I would come in and then we'd be like, okay, yeah, let's explore that one, let's do that, work on that one. And a lot of time it would be like every one, but I'd have like 20 ideas, 25 ideas or something like that, right? And for that album, I had like, it was about time to record, and I had maybe 6 ideas that I played him, and they're all kind of like, on all of them, And then I was like, fuck it, let's just start Wednesday. I'm like, what are we going to do Wednesday? I was like, I'll be ready Wednesday. I'll be ready Wednesday. And then we just did that one like that, but that was completely out of desperation. And then hit a lucky, prolific time, little lucky streak.
Yeah, freaking great album. How did you link up with Matt and Christopher?
So Matt has been drumming.
Who's a freaking animal, by the way. He's a freaking animal.
I mean, as far as, I don't think I would be the performer I am today without Matt.
No, you guys look at each other and you guys just go off. It's freaking savage. It's awesome.
I mean, especially for like an acoustic trio, who you would think wouldn't be terribly aggressive, and he's just, sticks are flying and breaking and shards of wood are, getting pulled out of women and children.
At some point I realized that you called him the Machine, right?
Yeah.
And then every show I'd go to and I'd be like, Machine, I would get all crazy. And then like the last couple times I've gone, other people were yelling it. I was kind of disappointed. I kind of felt like,
maybe you started it.
I don't know, man.
It was just kind of just going on.
Yeah, because he just goes nuts. So I'm sorry, how did you link up with him?
That was actually the first album I did for the Hurley guy, Hogtied, Like a Rodeo. I've had Matt since then.
No way.
He wasn't on that album, but there was a guy, Tommy Andrews, who's from San Diego as well, who was my bass player for the first 10 years of my career, played guitar on that album, and knew Matt and this guy, Russell Hayden, who played banjo and dobro, like the most evil fucking banjo you heard, and but it was perfect for it. It was creepy.
Evil banjo, bring it.
And he'd like he would like dress like Liza Minnelli and like do eyebrows, and he'd be like fucking awesome banjo player. But anyways, but I met Matt through this guy Tommy Andrews, and we all did it. And it was the first time I ever felt. Before that, I'd only played by myself.
Yeah,
really, and never performed. Even when I'm in the corner of any place, was always by myself. And that was the first time I was like, whoa. This is what it feels like to really feel and feed off of other people's energy and playing. And Matt's played with me ever since. And Christopher's been with us for Matt and Christopher are like best buddies. And Hoffy's wasn't even a bass player. He's a producer and engineer, so he
can play everything, right?
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
But now he's a really good bass player now.
Yeah. Look, I try and explain this to people. You gotta get the albums for sure, and then you gotta go see the live shows. It's freaking insane.
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we just go ape shit. I mean, we don't know, and I just think it's very visceral in the way that we approach. Like it's like the last show of our lives, and we do that every night. And I don't know any other way to do it, And Matt does it, and Christopher. We're just like, few wild animals up there,
Do you feel frustration that are you gonna you don't have a live album?
No, we don't.
Are you gonna do that? Do you think it would get it done? Do you think you'd be able to capture it?
I think so. I think we could. I mean, the hardest part is really acoustic guitar live is a difficult thing to kind of capture that, make that sound like an acoustic guitar. But yeah, I think we could capture it live. People ask that all the time because it is such a different animal. I mean, it's a high compliment when people are like, "Oh, it's better than the albums." It's. I think it's more of an experience. I mean, to get people during parts of the show that, that people want to fight during this time, people are crying, and you'll see like a military guy and a fucking hippie in there, and and then some guy from some other completely different background, but somehow they found this secret band, that's like, this is our band, this is my band, but it's that guy's band too, but that's okay, well, fuck it, we're in this together.
We're bros.
Yeah, right?
Bikers, hippies, surfers. I mean, it's like, let's all go get some.
Right?
That's freaking, it's awesome. If people get a chance to see that, it's like, you got to go check it out. Dude, what's the Matador about?
The Matador?
Yeah.
Matador that was actually the first song they used on Sons of Anarchy. Mm-hmm. But it was off of my first EP. It was already recorded. Matador, I wanted to do a song that you couldn't tell if it was a man killing people or a man killing or a matador. Mm-hmm. And I just like that kind of loose, a thing where you can't tell, really. And I want to leave it up to the listener whether they decide, is this a man killing people in the light of day, in public, in front of people? Or is this or is he talking about a bullfighter?
Yeah.
That's
kind of a wild concept.
Kind of. And I don't know where right?
How about Carnage?
Carnage is another dark one. That one, my idea was some kind of warfare comes to where you live, some kind of either it's nuclear, viral, or something, and you have to take your family and go hide down in the basement. And it's a kind of a narrative, so it starts and we all just go hide down in the basement. And I feel like the main character is kind of the father figure, and then you don't know what's happening outside. Everyone's just hiding, and it just gets darker and darker, and people start kind of losing their minds.
The Madman.
Madman's just, you're going all murder songs.
You know what? I just thought to myself, I'm like, well, that's all murder songs. And, and like you said earlier, you got the sweetest songs, you got the most romantic songs, and you definitely provided some very nice evenings for me and my wife to hang out and have a very pleasant time. You've also provided me with like nice soundtracks for the darkness.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that. I mean, the thing is, I don't know why people don't dive into the fucking dark side of the pool. You know, it's like there's so
Welcome
much.
to Jocko Podcast.
But there's so much, you know, in those shadowy parts, like movies like that and stuff like that. Like that's a powerful primal thing that I think is cool that should be explored. I think I'm lucky that I can sing in the way I can. That I can be tender at some moments when I have a love song or I have something that needs to be, and then on the other side of the hand that to be more aggressive and loud and howling. But yeah, the Madman's another just serial killer kind of murder song that it's just like you can't. He's undeniable. He's just all powerful and he's coming after you. It's just scary.
You know, I never have thought about the fact that you write murder songs before. Until you said it today, I was like, oh yeah, that's the whole thing. There's a bunch of those murder songs.
Every album at least has at least one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my list. I'm like, oh yeah, that's oh yeah, oh darling, what have I done? Oh yeah, that's absolute freaking.
That one's fucking twisted though.
Oh, totally.
That one's about a man who thinks. I don't even know how I come up with this bullshit, but like how who thinks in order to get the affection of his woman, and that he starts killing people and basically collecting these lives and killing these people as like a sign of like the ultimate gift to give to this woman, kind of in his mind, thinking that he's going to win her affection due to whatever this illusion.
How about The Pilot?
The Pilot feels like, I love this song, The Highwaymen by Jimmy Webb.
Yeah.
And it wasn't off that thing, but it's that one's just kind of just about kicking ass, kind of like
Kicking ass and taking names.
Right? Is that part of, that's part of the Pilot,
that's part of the Pilot.
I mean, that one's, I like how it starts. You know, you start with the pilot and basically it kind of just sets the table for just a pilot, and then it goes fighter pilot, and then it goes outlaw, and then it's just like what is it, the one? Yeah, kicking ass, taking aim, go town to town, killing dreams.
Yes. Man. You know, you did the album with the Joey White theme throughout it, and that's like a, what is it, a rock opera? What is it? Is it a concept album, I guess is what we call it?
Yeah, I think
where you got this whole story, this whole thread of a couple,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it sounds like they meet when they're young. You got some freaking great lines, man. Just great stuff. What made you decide to go, hey, I'm going concept album?
I've always wanted to. I mean, I always look at my songs as little movies, little mini movies, and the idea of building a whole narrative around those, linking those. Also, it's a linear thing, which I don't even know. Most concept albums seem really loose. Like even if you listen to Dark Side of the Moon or something, that's not like you jump from one thing to another, you know. And that's this guy's whole road. I don't know. I've always been fascinated by war and soldiers and people going off to war and then coming back and all this thing. And so I had some songs already, and I was like, I want to do a concept album. And then I said, oh, why don't I do it now? And I thought, I could put this song here or this, kind of start changing names, put this song over here, and then build this whole arc of this guy's lifetime. You know, it's basically a love story, or I think it's a love story, but it's
in a White Buffalo kind of way,
right? In a murderous sort of way, a dark thing. So they start off, they meet each other, they fall in love, but it's kind of this forbidden love, and so they have to leave the small town they're from, and he finds out pretty quickly that he cannot provide for his family, so he joins the military, goes off to war, feels like kind of a killing machine, and then comes back, still kind of bloodthirsty and not assimilating. Kills again at home, and then it skews back into a love story kind of, or at least his road to redemption kind of, and the idea that, and the one thing is the power of love, or the power of his woman is what makes him feel human or halfway human again, and it basically goes the whole arc to his life. At the end, he's going to die, and he's kind of questioning God and wondering, after all this bad shit I've done in my life, like, am I in there? Are you up there? You know, just still kind of confused and conflicted, but trying to figure out.
Man, freaking all just great stuff, man. Wherever you're getting it from, I hope those little magic nuggets that go into your brain, or enter your brain, or are produced in your brain, I hope they just freaking keep on coming, man. Hey, did your son play lead guitar for you one time at House of Blues?
He did many times.
Okay. Well, I mean, I only saw it once.
My oldest son, Tanner, we've tried to add a fourth guy sometimes, you know. We've always like this power trio kind of thing with an acoustic guitar is ridiculous, really. But we would try to add a fourth guy, but it always felt like it kind of took away from, I mean, all we were kind of dynamics, you know, so we get really big and we get really quiet and we get really big. And with three, that seems to work really well. And you add another thing, but Tanner is, when he's on his game and at his best, has been maybe my favorite fourth kind of member during it. Yeah, he's an animal.
Right on. What's up next? What's the future hold?
It's a weird time. I mean, you know, it's like I had an album come out during this, you know, during the COVID and the pandemic, and touring stopped. We had, I mean, a shitload of shows, you know, shows going all of 2020 and beyond, you know. We were going to go all the way around the world, all over the world, you know, at least places that we'd have some history, and that just all stopped. That all dried up, and so there's nothing. That's all being postponed to hopefully when we do it. I mean, our first tour that we were going to do in April, that's going to be a whole year. We're going to go back to Europe in April, and then hopefully stuff will start opening up. But I don't know, really. The future is unknown for sure, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue. I was really proud of this you know, recent piece of work that I did, which almost was going to start out as a concept as well.
What was the concept going to be? This
one was, one time we were touring, traveling. We were on like the Eastern Seaboard, and I keep seeing these rooftop decks up on top of these kind of Victorian houses, and I'm like, what are those, you know? And the drummer was like, oh, those are called widows' walks, and those are the wives or significant others of captains and whatever, fishermen, whalers or stuff. Their husbands would leave and go do their jobs, but not return for many months or many weeks, and the wives would go up kind of scouting, looking, longing for their husbands to come home. And I just thought, like, oh, you got it. It's all right there, right? I mean, you have the romance, you have the drama, you have the sea, the power, you know? And just the story was already there. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's going to be easy. And so I started writing some of those, which there's a song called Widow's Walk. There's another one, Sycamore, that made the album. Mm-hmm. There's a couple that are still on there. But then I had these other songs that I was like, because it's confining. You know, if you're like, especially when I think of a concept album as a narrative, to be like, oh, well, there's this song about the fires in California in 2018, or there's this song about that. It wouldn't really fit in the construct of that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of abandoned the idea without, not entirely, kind of. Some of the songs made it, and then inadvertently other songs would have other
angles
and concepts and water and longing and lost loves and all kinds of stuff that ended up kind of getting into there and being part of the writing, but way looser, you know.
Well, it's another great album, and you know, I always talk about there's not too many bands, in my opinion, that can do 5 awesome albums in a row. Like Black Sabbath, they did it. Zeppelin, they did it. Metallica, close, but they did it, right? There's not too many bands that can do 5 awesome albums in a row, and part of it is, I think, what you said earlier. You know, you were at this level where, you know, if you would have done that first demo and gotten picked up by whatever big record company and had a big bus and all this nice stuff, and you probably wouldn't have been able to squeeze out even 2 more good albums. But man, you were there, and you're knocking out every album that I don't know what number you're on right now, but it's more than 5, and you're still freaking putting out awesome work. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this: when you're back on the road, we will be there.
Well, thank you kindly.
You got any last thoughts, man?
No, I just appreciate you. I appreciate you, you know, I appreciate that I'm a part of so many people's lives, and often the terrible parts of their lives that I get people coming up to me saying how I helped them through this moment, a divorce or being in the military or death of somebody super close to them. And I'm proud to be that. For a while, it's odd because I'm actually not that serious of a dude. I'm pretty, like, if you went drinking with me, you're like, that guy? Really? And then, but
I guess there's like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, right?
It kind of is. I mean, I do these silly episodes, these things called In the Garage. Have you ever seen that shit?
Yeah.
So I do. It's just me in my garage, and I make some stupid entrance where I'm spinning and twirling or something, and then I kind of bullshit for 2, 3, 5 minutes about nothing. I'm just kind of rambling, but it's kind of comedic, and then I just go into something probably dark and heavy, some song that I have that's in my catalog, and I'll play a song, and then that's it. But it is kind of the duality of my persona, or not my persona, just who I am, but it's just like everything, I suppose. There's, laughter, and there's love, and there's, different sides of the coin. There's the light and the dark, and so I have that, and I explore that in music as well.
Well, thanks for taking us on the road with you down that path. And like I said, look, I know I'm coming out dark because that's sort of where I tend to go. But man, there's a bunch of beautiful songs on there. The best music you can apply it to just about every part of your life. So thanks for coming on, man. Friggin' awesome.
Thank you for having me.
You think maybe take it out with one mo a jam?
Sure, you got it.
Something off the new album.
Yeah, this is off the new album. This one's called No History. Yeah.
Get some.
Okay.
I threw my dreams in the wishing well. It seems they all get lost in time. Time don't fight fair. It's simply unaware. I write myself a different story, one that's filled with twists and turns and life is on fire, where I might get burned. Write it off to a lesson learned. Now I feel when the future comes that there won't be love for everyone. You can't hold the hands of time. It's only here and now, and nothing more. Oh, oh, oh. There's only one way to be free. No history. No history. Memories, they come crashing in. Living in the past is a waste of your life. You can't rewind, leave it all behind. What if morning never comes? Build your tomorrows out of today. They're all gonna go where nobody knows. I feel when the future comes that there won't be love for everyone. You can't hold the hands of time. It's only here and now, and nothing more. Oh, oh, oh. There's only one way to be free. No
Awesome, man. Thanks
you.
for coming down, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And with that, Jake, the White Buffalo Smith, has left the building. By the way, I forgot to mention this. You can find him on the interwebs at thewhitebuffalo.com, on Facebook at The White Buffalo, Instagram, Buffaloco. Buffaloco. I'm sure maybe Crazy Buffalo?
Is it? I think it was
Buffaloco. Buffaloco.
Yeah.
Yes. Twitter, Blanco Buffalo.
Yeah, that's the one I knew.
Right? So, and then YouTube. There's also a YouTube channel, The White Buffalo, where he puts out those little videos he was talking about. That's that, man. Awesome to have him down. Jake, thanks for coming down. And Echo.
Yes, sir.
There is some darkness
Yeah.
and some light in the world.
It is true. I think it was interesting to come and bring, for those of us that didn't go deep, because you mentioned White Buffalo a lot. The Buffalo Blanco. You mentioned them from time to time. So those of us that didn't go deep into, exploring like who this was that you'd mentioned from time to time, it was good to kind of bring them to light. I understand now.
Yeah. Kind of recognize.
I recognize.
You kind of recognize, don't you?
Yeah.
At what point did you go down?
Before we started recording, and he was
sorting out his little test run.
I was like, okay. Actually, when he rolled in, and when someone starts talking, especially a big guy like him, I think they start talking. You're like, oh, you have a singing voice right now.
Oh,
maybe
you could
I
tell
noticed.
That, huh?
You know why though? I think because like when I used to make like more like how should I say, like narrative type videos, and I would hire a lot of voiceover people.
Yes.
And
I did some voiceovers for Echo Charles.
Sure. Yes. So a lot of these professional voiceover people, like you listen to their demo, or some of the guys, like I'd call up on the phone, and when they answer the phone, I'm like, I see what you're working with there already. Just them talking. One guy was like, you could tell he put it on to answer the phone.
He's like, hello? And you're like, yeah, I'm looking for Mike Jacobs, the voice actor. And he's like, 1 second, please. Hello?
Yeah, actually, that's essentially what happened. Except he just out the gate. He was performing. He was auditioning straight out on his own. But the thing is, I emailed him, so he knew I was gonna call. So of course. But nonetheless, when I heard Jake talk, I was like, it hit me. Like, okay, I see you. And then
got some pipes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And then that's why I was gonna ask him, like, so you didn't take any voice lessons or anything, but you just got the talent out of the gate. Just good.
Legit.
So yes. So is at that point, I think, is when it started to hit me, and then the first song was really, really good, and then the second song was really, really good.
That's just the absolute tip of the iceberg, man. There's gold all throughout those albums, man.
Yeah.
Legit.
I'm looking into it.
Well, there's darkness in the world, as we heard.
Yes, it's true.
Also some light.
Yes.
We talk about the darkness, but we want to move towards the light. What do you got? How can we move towards the light?
Yes, always be moving towards the light. You got to embrace the darkness every once in a while. But
sure.
at the end of the day, you don't want to just hang out in darkness the whole time.
That's why we're writing songs called Carnage. Check.
And so, what are we doing? We're keeping ourselves capable as opposed to incapable. We are keeping ourselves healthy, which allows us to be capable, which allows us to get out of the darkness if need be. So this is what we're doing. We're working out. We're reading. You read a lot.
I do.
I read way more than I did before. Who was I just talking to? Somebody. I think it was Daryl Cooper. About like, bro, I didn't grow up just, there's a book. Let me start reading books.
Yeah.
But now I'm sort of like that. Like, that looks like
well, he said, where'd you grow up? And you said Kauai. And he said, I wouldn't have read either if I grew up in Kauai.
More stuff to do. Which, that was a good point, for sure.
Valid point.
Not that San Diego sucks, though. I think I'm just more mature and understand the value more. You know how, like, when you read, a lot of times it's like, I'm reading, I guess, as far as reading goes. Anyway, we're doing a lot of stuff to keep ourselves capable. Look, let's go back to working out. Through workouts, our bodies take a beating. It's the nature of working out, really.
True.
You work out, take a beating.
True.
Then you recover from that beating. Those are called gains. And we want to perpetuate gains, but you got to perpetuate beatings as well. So through
The
those
beatings are the darkness, the gains are the light.
are the light. Exactly right. exactly right. Anyway, so your joints will take a beating, so no worries. We got some good supplementation for those joints and for other stuff. So Jocko Fuel. This is a line, high quality, top tier quality supplementation. Anyway, joint warfare, joints. Keep your joints in the game, 100%. Super krill oil, same deal. Some antioxidants in there too. Super healthy for us. It's just a healthy situation, the krill oil. Vitamin D, and I'm going down the line, not in particular order. I'm going down the line in the order that I take them straight up. Every single morning, by the way. I'm back on the disciplined routine. Thanks for the suggestion, too, by the way. Unless, okay, vitamin D, immunity, keep the immunity up. Also, Cold War for immunity. These are critical in staying in the game. And if you don't believe me, try not take them. I don't try not take them, but I'm just saying, theoretically,
if you want to test Echo's theories, go ahead and try it. We don't recommend it.
Yeah. Especially if you took them for a long time, then stop taking them. That's when you see, it's kind of like if you stop drinking. If you've been drinking for a long time, you stop drinking, how much energy you have the next day. It's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a manner of speaking. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Also, discipline the supplement. Okay.
It's like a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
Multiple choices.
Yes.
Multiple choice.
Wait, what is?
Discipline.
Yes.
Because you can have discipline pills, capsules. You can have discipline powder, and you can have discipline in the cans.
Yes, the whole line of discipline is true. And it sorted itself out, and it makes sense to be like, okay, so discipline powder I take pretty much every day. Pretty much. Mm-hmm. Take it before workout. That's mainly the thing. But if I don't work out that day, just take it in the morning. Boom, kind of get off to a good sort of start, The can, I use it as essentially an energy drink.
Except for you don't feel like junk.
Yeah, and it's like more refreshing than an energy drink. So it's kind of like a I don't know, a refreshing energy drink.
Okay.
Multiple flavors, by the way. And then the pills, that's sort of like on the go. I only took the pills one time. It's just,
really?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I've taken the pills many times.
Yeah, it hasn't rolled into my routine as seamlessly as maybe in your situation.
It's nice to get that little hitter.
Yep, it's true.
It's nice to get that little hitter, boy.
I would imagine so, yes. But
Jocko white tea, we got that as well. We also got Molk. So look, you need supplementation. We talked about the gains being the light. Well, yes. You need something to build the light with.
It's true.
From a physics point of view,
sure.
When you want to make gains, you need protein. Mm-hmm. You might as well have protein that tastes like a dessert.
It's true.
Get yourself some Molk.
Yeah, it's true. So my son, he's 4. He'll be 4 this month. Goes into the closet. This was not yesterday, day before yesterday. Goes into the closet, gets the peanut butter Molk. Not the kid, don't worry, your kid one. And he says, can we make some milkshakes? Straight up.
Isn't it awesome that your son wants something as much as you want him to have it?
Yes.
Here, go. Like, how often you get to say to your kid, yes, they're begging you to do something that's going to make them healthier, stronger, and a better person.
Yeah, exactly right.
Go. Have some Molk. I'll make all the Molk you want. How's that sound?
Yeah, perfect. It's like them asking you, hey, can I go outside and do some push-ups? Like, do you mind if I do that?
Do you mind if I go outside and do a bunch of 8-count bodybuilders just to get some? And you're like, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, can I have some Molk? Yes, you can.
It's the same feeling.
Mix it up for you.
Yep.
Let me throw it in the blender, throw it in the shaker, and just make one up for you.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like, okay, you know how we play, where we want to be playing. We want to be playing the long game, right? Mm-hmm. Strategic over tactical.
Yes.
So every once in a while, and I've said this before, it's true. Every once in a while, you get one of those golden diamond nuggets that is beneficial short-term and long-term. They're rare. They're not every day. They're not every day at every corner. They're not. They're rare, but they're there.
And Molk is one of them.
Straight up one of them. Salmon sashimi is another one. That's my opinion.
Jocko
So,
White
yes.
tea. Did we say Jocko White tea?
You mentioned
You
it,
might
sure.
make that
Certified
refreshing.
organic, refreshing Jocko White tea in the tea bags and in cans too.
Yes.
By the way, my wife is on that kick still for the last
You
year
can get
and a
this
half.
stuff at originmaine.com, or you can get it at the Vitamin Shop around the corner.
Yes.
The Vitamin Shop around the corner. You don't have to wait. Go get some.
It's true. Speaking of originmaine.com, other stuff on there. Notably, jeans, American-made denim. Straight up from the fabric that is fabricated.
Yep.
right.
Jeans are available. T-shirts are available. Geese are available. Rash guards are available. Anything that you need to cover your body. Boots. You need to cover your body. Otherwise, it's going to get scraped. It's going to get cold, and you're going to be naked.
Yeah.
Which is not good
That's the
in
thing.
many cases.
In most cases. Yes.
So get some clothes. Get some American-made clothes. Get some American-made clothes that are functional.
Functional.
And that's where my judgment stops. You have to judge the other part.
It's true. Speaking of clothes and representing and wearing things, Jocko has a store. Straight up. Represent on the path. T-shirts, discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. And it does, by the way, in case you didn't know. Shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies. You know what else?
Hardcore Recondo T-shirts.
Hardcore Recondo T-shirts. Yes.
One of a kind.
That I happen to be wearing right
are
now.
wearing right now. Totally legit.
Oh, big time. I just got this, a week ago.
Yeah.
And so I've worn it maybe 2-3 times, 2 of which we were recording. I don't really go out in public that much, but no one's recognized
Get
it
mobbed,
yet.
do you, when you go out in
Well,
public?
The moment someone recognizes this shirt, that's going to be a level of respect that's a little bit above the normal
Yeah.
level of respect.
You gotta be in the game and on the path.
Yes, sir.
To get
Yeah.
on board with that.
Also, what else on there? Anyway, a lot of good stuff. I was going to mention, shorts. Board shorts. Functional. I'm going to do a whole thing. I might even make a video about the shorts. Because they're good. They're functional and look good. And they're like double functional board shorts. They are.
That sounds like a marketing campaign.
Double functional.
Double functional.
They are. Nonetheless, jockostore.com. That's where
You can also get some
this stuff.
Warrior Kid soap there, right?
Yes, sir. There you can.
Warrior Kid soap. Go get some of that. Also, subscribe to this podcast if you haven't yet, which if you haven't yet, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just move on with your life. I don't know. Leave a review, whatever. We also have some other podcasts. We have the Jocko Unraveling podcast, which used to be called The Thread. It's back. It's in its full glory. We re-released or are re-releasing the threads that were removed. Mm-hmm. Now we have the unraveling. We have some new unravelings coming right now. They're out.
They are.
Grounded podcast. Haven't done one of those in a little while. We owe you. Warrior Kid podcast. Haven't done one of those in a little while. We owe you. But, there's a lot of lessons you need to hear multiple times, kids. So jump on them. We also have a YouTube channel where Echo takes and he enhances some videos, especially if it's a video that's very short and you could easily pay attention to. Then he puts a bunch of enhancement in there to make sure you can watch it for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But when he does a 3-hour video, he doesn't put any enhancements in there. It's just a plain black and white video of 2 heads or 3 heads, people talking.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that's the way Echo's organized it, which is his call, But if you want to see what Jake Smith, the White Buffalo, looks like, if you want to figure out why they call him the White Buffalo, because he kind of represents that
The White Buffalo. Yeah.
in a visual kind of way.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Come and check it out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit like.
Smash the like button. I don't think people.
I wore out that joke a few months ago.
What? The smash the like
Smash
button?
the like. No, smash the subscribe.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, that's so weird.
Well, yeah. There's a new one out there.
Is there a new way of saying it?
A new trend. They say hit the like button and leave a comment to help out the algorithm. Something along those lines. Because there's like an algorithm that if it has likes in inner engagement or whatever, interactions or whatever. It's sort of like, oh, this is a significant video, so let's sort of push it or whatever.
Okay, well, we're not doing this big campaign to get you to fix the algorithm. You know what? If you like the videos, watch them. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check it out. That way Echo can get in your head with his little videos.
Yeah. It won't be me getting in your head, though, obviously. I think we know who's in whose head. Nonetheless, yes, YouTube, video version, all good. People are agreeing with me, I think. You don't put effects on a podcast. Or on this particular podcast, put it that way.
I'm not talking a massive. I'm talking an occasional little Easter egg rolling in. Maybe if something blows up over there. Maybe smoke. Maybe there's smoke.
All right.
Some smoke coming out of Jake's guitar.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
Actually, if there's one thing that doesn't need it, effects, it's Jake.
Yeah,
he did need effects today.
Yeah. It could be cool, though. I don't know. Jury's still out. Nonetheless, yes, YouTube. Also, Psychological Warfare. It's an album. Not like White Buffalo album.
No.
Different. More like, well, we'll just call it Psychological Warfare for now. So what it is
it's a spoken word album.
Yes.
Spoken word.
Yeah, and those words are speaking to you on your moments of weakness. So if you're about to skip the workout, bro, I came close to skipping workout too, by the way, yesterday.
That's why you're looking skinny?
You having fun now? Is that anyway? Almost skipped the workout.
You think if I'm annoyed while we're doing this right now, do you think everyone's annoyed, or do you think it's just me?
It's very possible. Yeah, it's very possible that everyone's annoyed. But nonetheless, I think this is a moment of value, in my opinion.
Okay.
I was about to skip the workout. I didn't listen to Psychological Warfare. This was yesterday. You know why? I didn't have to. I listened to it so many times before when I really needed it that it was sort of in the Rolodex back there, sort of playing. So I listened to it virtually in my mind.
And you did the workout.
I did the workout straight up 100%.
That's awesome, man. Good job.
Yeah,
but I do looking skinny.
I do play that game, that one that you play, or we were talking about that. It's like, hey, if you have those moments of like, oh yeah, like man, I really should hurry up and get to what I was gonna do. You know, any excuse you come up with your head that you're gonna skip the last part of the workout, you punish yourself with extra work.
Yeah,
you know, for even thinking that. I play that game 100%.
Check.
It's a good move.
Also, if you want to have a visual representation to kind of keep you squared away, go to flipsidecanvas.com by my brother Dakota Meyer, making cool graphical art to hang on your wall. Graphical.
Sure, graphical.
Also, pick up some of Jake's music. Go download the music or order it or whatever. However you're going to get that music, go get it, man. Go get it. Jake's out there making it happen. Also got some books. The Code. The Evaluation, the Protocols, Leadership Strategy and Tactics, Field Manual, Warrior Kid 1, 2, and 3, Mikey and the Dragons, Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual, Extreme Ownership, and The Dichotomy of Leadership. Pick up some of those books if you like what we talk about on here. Also have a leadership consultancy called Echelon Front. If you need help with leadership inside your organization, go to echelonfront.com. If you want to get engaged in the online brigade that we have where I talk about leadership, I interact. You want to ask me a question? You're thinking, oh, I wish I could ask Jocko a question. You can. You can literally come on there and ask me a question. Doing 2 to 3 times a week, I'm on there, live interaction. Go to efonline.com. Leadership is not something that you just get and now you're good. And you know what? Maybe you want to ask me about jiu-jitsu. Maybe you want to ask me about some relationship that you're in. Whatever you want to ask me, come and ask me. efonline.com. We have the muster. The next muster is in Phoenix, Arizona, September 16th and 17th. Then we're going to be in Dallas, Texas, December 3rd and 4th. Go to extremeownership.com for details. We've sold out all these things that we've done. These ones are less seating because of social distancing. So they're going to sell out even quicker. We have EF Overwatch. If you need leadership inside your organization, you want to experience leadership, go to efoverwatch.com where we have candidates that are proven leaders from the military that understand the principles we talk about. Go there and hire someone. efoverwatch.com. We also have americasmightywarriors.org. That is Mama Lee, Mark Lee's mom, who is on a mission to do good, to help service members, to help their families, to help Gold Star families, to help people that are deployed around the world. If you want to get involved or donate, go to americasmightywarriors.org. And if you enjoy overdoing things and you want to hear more of my conspicuous questions, or you feel like you just can't live without a little bit more of Echo's illogical inquiries, then you can find us on the interwebs, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on the Facebook. Echo is at Echo Charles, and I am at Jocko Willink. And Jake the White Buffalo can be found on the interwebs at thewhitebuffalo.com, Facebook, The White Buffalo, Instagram, Buffaloco, Twitter, Blanco Buffalo, and his YouTube channel is The White Buffalo. And thanks again to Jake for coming on the show, for sharing your vision, your voice with us. Thanks for taking care of our veterans. And thanks for adding a soundtrack to my life. And to all the veterans out there, thanks for stepping up into the madness, into the darkness. And thanks for not backing down. And to the police and law enforcement and firefighters and paramedics and EMTs and dispatchers and correctional officers and Border Patrol and Secret Service and all the first responders out there, thanks for keeping the darkness at bay on the home front. And everyone else out there, the words from a White Buffalo song called When I'm Gone. He says, I feel it closing in on me. I got to be all I can be. In this life, there ain't no guarantee. You don't get no shit for free. What does that mean? It means you got to get out there and get after it. And until next time, this is Echo and Jocko. Out.